Welcome to EoZTV. I'm Elder.
I'm Mrs. Elder.
And we are live. Today is January 20...
Not January, what is
It's February. Wow. I still remember it's 2016. It's February 25th, 2016. And we are live. And we did not give too much notice for this, so but hopefully people will start joining soon. Today we're going to talk about a few small topics. The last couple times we spoke about one topic per show, but we're going to talk about a couple of little ones on this show. The first story that is coming up right now is just one that I thought was very interesting that I spoke about today. There's a Reuters columnist named Luke Baker. Have you ever heard of him?
Me?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You did? Really?
No, but I just had to act like I was intelligent or something like that.
He's the main Reuters columnist in the Middle East, or at least in Israel and in the Palestinian territories, as he calls them. And what happened was, a week or so ago, there was a person, a Washington Post reporter named William Booth, was briefly detained by Israel. We spoke about this. He was briefly detained, and the journalists made a big deal over this, saying, "Oh, he's being arrested by Israel, and this is the reason, and it's terrible." And New York Times had an article comparing it to Iran, arresting a Washington Post reporter for 18 months without charge. And Luke Baker tweeted about it. He said, "Now released, but the brief detention and questioning still seems wholly unacceptable." It was really he was very upset. He's a reporter, and he's very upset that a fellow reporter was detained by Israel. Now let's fast forward to today. Today, Luke Baker was in Gaza covering, and I'm not going to talk about it right now, but he was covering a speech by a Hamas leader, by Mahmoud al-Zahar, in which nobody asked any difficult questions whatsoever. It was sort of ridiculous. But he wrote over here, "Oh, now I'm released, but..." No, I'm sorry, here he says, "Briefly taken in for polite questions by Hamas security forces in Gaza today." And here was an interesting placard on the wall. It said, Jerusalem is in that direction. And then people started saying, "What happened? You were taken by Hamas? I mean, what exactly is going on over here?"
Yeah, I can imagine.
So he just said, "Oh, here's what happened. I was not reporting. I was called to one side while walking on the street, taken to a small headquarters. I wasn't escorted by anyone with guns. A major from the security services introduced himself by name. He asked me a series of questions. I was never accused of anything. I was given coffee and tea. All the questions about what I was doing in Gaza and what I do for work, etc." Okay, let's think about this for a second. He's a reporter. Hamas, the governing body in Gaza, takes him into custody. They might act politely. They might be very nice to him. But what does it mean? It's still intimidation. It's still, they could say whatever they want about it. But the fact is, unless he could get up and leave any time he wanted to, and he knows damned well he couldn't, he was detained. He was effectively, not exactly under arrest, but, he was being questioned. Now, the fact is, he's on Hamas's side. And you could see from the tweets that he is. He doesn't think of Hamas in the same way that he thinks of Israel. With Israel, detains a reporter, and they had good reason for detaining the reporter because there was actually somebody had asked them, somebody had reported that reporter might be involved in staging a terror attack in Damascus Gate. I mean, it didn't really happen, but nevertheless, they had to talk to him about it since somebody made the accusation. But reporters were tweeting like crazy about that. Nobody was upset that Hamas took this guy, including himself.
I know, unbelievable.
It's just because, hey, it's what happened, big deal. No, it's not something that's a big deal. It's intimidation. Hamas is letting him know, hey, you do what we tell you to do, or else we have the power of being able to take you. And if he's really so credulous that he believes that Hamas is asking him questions without knowing who he really is and about what his work is, and that they didn't really know this stuff ahead of time, they just randomly picked up somebody on the street, if that's what he really, and to be polite and give them coffee and tea, if he really believes that, then he is thoroughly too stupid to be any sort of a Middle East reporter. If that's honestly what he believes, that Hamas just randomly picked him up, asks him polite questions, and there's no element of intimidation whatsoever, he is phenomenally stupid. So
okay.
I mean, there's no other way to look at it. If this is what either that, or much more likely, he is just phenomenally biased against Israel and for Hamas. I don't see any other way you can look at this. There's no other way you can spin this. It's just a remarkable, remarkable story. Second story that we can talk about. I just like this poster I made up. David Cameron, the Prime Minister of Great Britain, who is more pro-Israel than most politicians, that certainly is. However, an Arab member of Parliament asked him a question, asking him, so what do you think about the settlements, or something like that? Or what do you think about what Israel's building? Because the settlements, of course, is the most evil thing in the world. And he answered in the session, he said that, it's genuinely shocking. We can look at the actual story if you want in The Independent. It was saying that he blasted, Israel settlements is genuinely shocking. Because he says, I'm a strong friend of Israel, but the first time I visited Israel, the proper tour, it was terrible, it's genuinely shocking. What the government has consistently done is to say, we're supporters of Israel, but we do not support illegal settlements. But this is what's shocking. It was been asked by this Imran Hussein what the government was doing to prevent the infringement of Palestinian lives and lands. That was as shocking. So I made this little chart saying, I went through his Twitter account over the past 2 years and see every time he said he was shocked by something.
Okay.
Let's get the list of everything that shocks David Cameron. And here's the full list from middle of 2014 or towards the end of 2014. The Malaysian air disaster, which killed 239 people.
I would certainly hope he thinks that's shocking.
Peshawar school massacre,
Hope that.
141 were killed by that. The Nepal earthquake, which had 9,000 people being killed. The Tunisia terror attacks in 2015, they weren't as well reported in America, but there were 38 killed, 31 of them were British, so certainly that was shocking for Great Britain. The Paris terror attacks, 130 people were killed, and Jews building homes in their historic capital of Jerusalem. These are the things that are considered shocking. And I have a feeling that people that are anti-Israel, that would look at this, they actually would agree with this list. That, well, yeah, all these things really are shocking. That sounds about right. It's because the idea of settlements has been so overdone. I'm sorry about this. The idea of settlements has been so over exaggerated, that it is, this is just the way it is, and everybody thinks, that's one of the worst war crimes in the world. And here he is. This is David Cameron. He's comparing effectively, to his mind, the idea of Jews building in their own, land and in their own capital is as shocking, as he would say, as anything, as any of these other tragedies. It's just, and that's it. People think that settlements are the worst possible thing, and it's just amazing. Even with people that call themselves Israel's friends.
Well, we're going to have a talk about these settlements and set the world straight, because I was going to say to you, I agree with you. This is ultimately the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah, I mean, we've been there.
I just can't even conceive.
Mrs. Elder and I have visited, these evil settlements. We've spoken to people there. We've interviewed people. We've had, and we know these people, and it's just.
I think what you're missing tonight is that I think that you're missing the fact that you really need to bring to the table of what is behind them thinking that this is terrible. And I think that requires a new show, to be quite honest.
It's not for now.
Right, but I'm just saying to you that I don't know that you're actually giving over enough information.
No, it's propaganda. It's just.
Of course it's propaganda, but what I was going to say to you, I think that it deserves an entire show.
It deserves more than that, but, we could talk about the legality of the settlements as well. That certainly is not a problem. We can certainly talk about that.
Well, I think we should.
That's a good idea. We can do that.
I think we will.
The last story that we're going to be talking about is this was in the news. A lot of people spoke about it. Reuters had it. This is the reporting that was in Investors Business Daily. The Iranian, this one doesn't have the details. Sorry, I thought I had the details over here. But the Iranian representative the Iranian representative the ambassador to Lebanon said that Iran would offer $7,000 for every person who was what they called martyred, every single Palestinian that tried to stab or that was killed trying to stab or stone or shoot a Jew. They would give them a reward. Effectively, their family, they would give them $7,000, and if Israel demolished their house, they would give them $30,000. So Iran very explicitly said, yes, we will monetarily support terror. This is not the first time they've done that, and again, this received a little bit of news. What I thought was interesting is the amount. They gave a very, fairly round number of 7,000 American dollars to pay. Why did they choose American dollars? If you convert 7,000 American dollars into Iranian riyals,
Just so you know, on the screen, I think that you're
it got
missing.
cut off a little bit. Sorry about that.
Yeah, let's see if you can fix that.
I don't know if I can. I can try.
Okay,
One
well,
second. That's going to take me a little bit. I don't know if I can do that live.
okay, but that's fine.
Sorry about that.
But anyway, it says,
Anyway, the number is 211,351,000 Iranian riyals. Wouldn't that be a more impressive number for them to say that they're giving 211 million riyals, to these people? Why this number of 7,000 American dollars and 30,000 American dollars? Why aren't they talking, British pounds or Israeli shekels, which is what they actually would be paid in when it gets converted?
so why?
Why is that? Because Iran now has or is getting essentially $150 billion from America.
How nice.
For,
To support terror.
the Iranian
That's right.
nuclear deal. This to me, I mean, I'm being slightly facetious here, but this to me is Iran's way of thanking the U.S. For all of the extra money that they now have that they can spend on terrorists.
We do
and
have
it's
to thank Obama.
Yeah,
We
it's
do
a
know.
very complicated formula, and I made this little, because it's so complicated, I made this flow chart just so people can understand.
I think that was a good idea.
From the U.S. to Iran to Palestinian terrorists. It's I know it's tough to
They've
explain.
got great marketing people. We should get them on board so that we can raise that kind of money,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
tell you. Boy, I want to know their tricks.
Yeah, I'll, $7,000. And hey,
For
just all
each
you have to
time.
do is just get killed, and for every time you attack a Jew, and that's it. Or $30,000 if you're lucky enough that Israel's going to try to destroy Iran. And this is, of course, Iran is not. This is not the first time Iran has done this. Iran has done this before, and of course, the Palestinian Authority does this. They finally, when people started complaining about it, saying, hey, we're giving money to the Palestinian Authority, and the Palestinian Authority is giving money to the families of the terrorists, essentially life insurance. Then the PA got a little bit spooked that they were going to lose some of their funding. So they played some accounting games, and now it's not the PA that pays the families.
It's Iran.
No, it's the PLO. The PLO, which controls the PA, but the PA is what everybody gives the money to. So the PLO, which gets its money from other means, from other Arab countries or whatever. So they're the ones that are now took over the program to pay prisoners. I mean, there's current terrorists in Israeli prisons, the families of those prisoners, and when they get out, when Israel mostly stupidly does terrorist swaps and lets them go for whatever small amount of people, those people are given guaranteed jobs and pensions, but mostly jobs. So the last I checked, about 6% of the Palestinian Authority's budget goes towards paying terrorists and their families.
Well, one of these days, America's going to wake up and realize that while they're diverting the attention to the Palestinians, they're going to attack America.
Well, they've threatened to. It's
No, but I'm just saying to you, America's giving the money, so not only is it going to the Palestinian territories, it's going to go back and hurt everybody in America.
There was an interesting quote about a week ago from a Palestinian that said that I had an article talking about how the Palestinians hate the idea of being irrelevant, that people don't care about them anymore. And this, I wasn't really thinking about this specifically, but this Palestinian, I forget which leader said it at the time. He said, "What more do we need to do in order to get you to take our stuff seriously? Should we go back to hijacking airplanes?" He said this, and it's because that's of course what made them famous. And it was and if you want to, and it's a remarkable history. Again, if you want to go back and see exactly how the
We should do
Palestinian
that.
cause went from within about a couple of years from being, hijacking airplanes to Yasser Arafat being in the UN and
Unbelievable.
claiming to be a peacemaker. Between like 1971 or 72 and 1974, I believe was it took really only the space of a couple of years for the scared West to say, hey, if we give, which is effectively in the background, they're saying, we are so afraid of terror attacks against us, we're going to start pretending that these guys are peaceful, so they won't attack us anymore, and they'll only attack Israel. And that's been what happened. Everybody's still afraid of the twin, the twin things that they were worried about. One was terror, and two was the Arab oil boycott that happened in 1973. And and the rest of the world said, we don't want that to happen anymore. So all of a sudden, the Palestinian cause became a righteous cause. Okay? They went from being terrorists to being an oppressed people.
Well, I guess what? I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to do everything in my power to change that
Well,
with you.
Okay, that's great. We will definitely try. But in the meanwhile, that's going to be it for tonight. So thank you very much. I am Elder.
I am Mrs. Elder.
And thanks again for watching.